Hello and welcome to Smart Impressions. I'm Rachel and we're unlocking business relationships one connection at a time. Now, if you are a business owner working in a business and looking for that funding and it just hasn't happened yet because of some legal issues that you have maybe overlooked, well, today's show is going to be great for you because I have a lawyer who is the founder of V7 Capital who's with us today. Yousef Hamza, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
It's so great to have you. I know you're super busy, and so I appreciate your time you taking out just to share with us and the audience kind of some of those tips and tricks and things that you find happening in the UAE market. Now, I know that V7 has been investing. It's a small family office, right?
Correct. Yeah. So V7 Capital is actually a grouping of different family offices, very private, that invest into kind of startups and SMEs. My background is law, but obviously I've evolved from that towards the investment field. And I've gone through kind of lots and lots of stages through the journey, which I guess I can very briefly touch upon here so we don't waste the audience's time. I set up the first angel network in the Middle East, which put me in a great position to see, we're talking over a decade ago, all the young, best, freshest startups in the UAE, what they were doing, their evolution, all the way through to IPO, some of them. So we had access from the ground level in terms of all their legal qualms, financial, sales problems, down to even individual problems. You'd be surprised how many entrepreneurs suffer on a personal level as a result of being an entrepreneur. It's glitz and glamour on the outside on Instagram, but the reality is a lot of people do cry themselves to sleep at night sometimes. So we do help everyone through those phases. If you are somebody that is struggling as well, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I think it's not a lonely world out there if you're an entrepreneur, but there's obviously different size businesses, right? You got the SMEs, you got the smaller,
Correct.
medium size that have the revenue coming in. And that's essentially where they're looking for that more revenue to really impact their bottom line and for them
Correct.
to really soar, right? Because they need money. But with over 3,000 companies that you've been able to advise, what are some of the biggest challenges and critical mistakes that they're making when looking for funding?
I'd say the biggest one is that they overlook the importance of self. So really the first thing we would judge for any investment is the individual themselves. The second you walk through the door, you are the product. I'm not investing into your idea because I see tens of thousands of ideas. It doesn't matter. Anyone can have an idea. If you have one, someone has a better idea, it doesn't matter. What matters is you. And can you implement that idea? And can you implement that idea better than other people? You know, people talk about first mover advantage. I must be the first in Dubai to do this. You've seen a lot of cases where that's not always led to success. It's been the stronger entrepreneur. So we as investors, we're basically risk mitigators, right? We're almost like a hedge fund. We're going to invest one way or another into somebody. We need to hedge our risk. We need to minimize that. And the best way to minimize that risk, firstly, is who am I speaking to? And it's not just how well you're dressed, you know, how you smile and your presentation skills. Though we'll get onto that. That is extremely important in terms of sales and how you present yourself. It's who you are fundamentally, you know, and that will shine through by have you had 1 hour of sleep the night before? Have you been living on fast food for the last 10 days? Are you stressed about family life? Have you been exercising recently? What kind of books have you read to make yourself a better person? And you might think that these things are, I'll get to it when I can. But every one of these things shine through. Every one of these principles come out during conversation, the way you speak, your body language. And we're very attuned to seeing these things and these expressions. If I see somebody enter my office in a specific way, I'll know he's responsible fiscally. I'll know he's driven. I'll know he's a loyal man. And I'll know he's also receptive to what the board will be advising him on. And these are kind of all the key critical things that we're looking at. But we tell that by how you walk. And how you walk and how you move and how you speak is influenced by how you live your life in the little things on a day-to-day basis. So you are the most important part of your product.
Okay, you just blew my mind because literally I'm sitting here thinking like this show is all about helping people make better connections. And you're like, dude, just pinpoint that exact moment when someone walks into a new environment to meet a new person and what you're looking at And the reality, yeah, they're under scrutiny, right? Extreme scrutiny for so many of these points. But I mean, now I'm thinking, oh God, people they can judge, what I do with my money or how I manage my money just by the way I'm communicating, which is really in tune. I mean, no doubt, with over 3,000 companies, they talk the talk. They gotta, you're being able to see who's trying to manipulate the situation, who's not, right?
When you speak to a friend, you're not analyzing these things. When you're speaking to somebody who you're going to have to share your life's wealth that you've created through hard work and many years of stress, you're going to be paying attention to every little thing that they do. And not to scare anybody, but I think 70 to 80% of the decision of whether I'm going to invest in you comes in the first, I think it's 60 seconds of having met you. So you enter the room, you got about 60 seconds. 70% of them are kicked out. If you survive the first 60 seconds, you then have another, I think, 2-3 minutes. And then another 10-20% of that drop out. And then you have another. So by the 5th minute, 100% of all investors have already made up their mind about this person and whether they're going to invest in him or not. Then that final sliver, that whatever percentage it's going to be at the very, very end, will go through the grueling process of, let me see your numbers, let me see your sales, plan, let me see all the rest of it. But you're out in the first 99% in the first 5 minutes. So that, I would say, is more critical even than your business plan.
No doubt. Well, let's get to some of the number games, right? Because I want to talk about like how important, I mean, clearly humans are one aspect of it. The numbers and the business concept is the next, right? And seeing that profitability numbers, what are some of the challenges you're seeing there that business owners are missing? And, really sacrificing this great funding opportunity by not having when it comes to that.
So there's two sets of numbers. There's what we have done and what we will do. So on the what we have done, we want to see progress. Regardless of how fast, don't compare yourself to others. All these guys achieved X, Y by 2 months. It doesn't matter. If we're seeing consistent progress, and we have also, if we ever see reasons why your numbers drop. So if we see a drop for a few months and comes up, you need to explain that to us. Because that, again, we are we're very susceptible to little red flags that will ping and say there's a problem with the business. So we're looking to find every single little problem. If your numbers drop slightly, and you might not even notice the drop. You might be going up every single month, but one of your months goes up 10%, whereas one of your other months goes up 15%. We'll figure that out and say, why is there a drop in your growth rate? What's going on? You need to know your numbers inside out. The worst thing I can do is ask a CEO what you make last quarter. And he goes, I don't know, I'll have to check with it. Oh, it's with my numbers, guys. What are we doing here? If you don't know your own business down to the last dirham you're spending, it means you're not going to be paying attention to my money. So we don't just look at your sales in terms of number growth. Look at it in terms of percentage growth. You might have only grown from 200,000 to 300,000 over 6 months. Percentage-wise, that's 50%. For us, that's impressive, right? So look at the micro level of the numbers. Look at the percentages going up and down. We will notice if you jump 20% one month, 5% next month, we will question. Don't let us question you. I prefer you offer up reasons why. Hey, this is, it's a cyclical thing every single year during the summer. Our sales go down. It's normal. Right. Be prepared. If you don't know why your numbers are down in this month, I'm not investing in you because it might not be a seasonal thing. It might be that, your key sales guy left. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know why your sales numbers were up in the first place. Dubai is a great place where you can see inflated sales numbers because there's so much going on. You might not be the best salesperson, but you'll still be going upwards. And so we'll uncover that mask very quickly. We want to see that you really are putting the time and effort. We won't ask for a sales strategy, but we would love to always see a sales strategy because typically in any business, a large chunk of it goes towards acquiring new business, right? This is what we're doing. We're in the game to grow our business from A to Z. So if you don't have a plan around that and say, oh, we're going to put X into social media, Y into newspapers, I'm like, where's your plan? Where are the metrics that show me these are the right options? Or are you going to just be testing Facebook versus Instagram to see which one works better with my money? Why am I paying for your experiments? So you need to know exactly what you want to achieve with every single derm that you're asking for, or every single derm that you're going to use, whether you're a CEO of a company fundraising, or whether you're also just a person that's just head of sales growing the business. I need to see that plan. So that's kind of historic and what you've achieved to date. In terms of future, the biggest problem we see is, future numbers kind of just like, it's like painting, right? You can just kind of paint whatever you want. The problem is everyone thinks they're Picasso, right? Everyone has that same curve. Everyone has that, if we just get this, we'll be able to triple our sales. So we're not stupid. We understand that if I put $1,000 into Facebook ads and I get, say, 1,500 out in revenue, if you put 2,000 in, you're not going to get 3,000 out in revenue. It does not scale. If I put in, I put in 1,000, I've got 1,500. Why don't I put in 10 million? I'll get 15 million back. It doesn't work like that. We know it doesn't work like that. So we need to, not see the same typical curve that, if only I had money. Yes, this is always what we feel is holding us back, but it's not. It's strategy and what exactly you're going to be doing with the money. So be realistic enough with your growth, but also don't be too conservative. Either edge of the scale will frighten us off. If you're only growing 5% per year, we're not going to invest because what are we putting our money into? Get a loan. If you're growing 100% per year, you're not a realistic person and you're not paying attention to what's going on. If you're also putting in terms of growth, if I see in-depth analysis like, change of population in the UAE, because we've had radical shifts in terms of demographic, and that's now where you're targeting. If I start to see, you are specifically talking about numbers, not just within your industry. Fashion industry is over 20 million. That's very broad if you're selling shoes, because fashion industry includes makeup, includes, clothes, scarves, etc., jackets. What percentage is shoes of that? So I like to see that you've done your homework, because if you've done that level of detail, homework rather, then I know that every derm you spend, before you spend it, you are going to take your time and you are going to spend it in the right way.
I'm going to shift here a little bit because I really want the audience to, number one, jump into the conversation. So if you got questions, thoughts, while Yousef's here, please jump in and ask. There's no doubt there's different sized businesses that are listening, business owners, sales professionals. And I kind of want to take this to the transformation of, from businesses asking for investment to what the investors are really valuing, because having a plan, great. What about the detailed plans of having staff to sell? Because you need that salespeople and that continued like stickiness of customers coming back and that retention, right? So is a retention of customers more important in that story, or is it, how do you evaluate, the customer segmentation and that direct connection to revenue?
So you've always got to look at the situation in terms of risk whenever you're dealing with investors. If you look at it objectively, which company would you be more comfortable putting your money in? One that's growing 20% per month, but is losing 90% of its customers every month, or one that's growing 2% per month, but is retaining 100%. So you can answer your own question if you think in terms of risk and your own capital. Would I put my money into this? Retention above growth really is huge, because I know these guys are going to be there next year, and all you have to do is maintain your sales numbers no matter how low they are, and I'm going to increase my next year's revenue by a significant amount, guaranteed. So that is much more important for me.
Okay, I see that. And then, you must find a lot of people that are running businesses say, yeah, I'm going to hire a salesperson. I'm going to spend some money on marketing. I'm going to get, more revenue. But do you see that actually coming to fruition?
Don't say we are going to. We may, we will. You already either should have,
right,
or have identified and planned out fully. So if you say, we've got this guy, we've got this team, this person's going to be joining us as head of marketing in the next few months, I am now secure that you know what you're doing. If you say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, that's not the case. Saying we're going to never comes to fruition. Saying we have, and it is done, or it's in the process of being done. That's what we want to hear. Because again, risk mitigation. pie in the sky versus I've identified this person. Here's his profile. Have a look at it.
Yeah.
That gives me security.
Cool. I appreciate that. Okay. We have only a few minutes left, and I want to make sure everyone takes away 3 priorities that they need to look into. It's coming to the end of the year. We're starting a new year next year, and there's no doubt people need investment. There's no doubt that money can help skyrocket your business. There's also no question that you can hire salespeople all day, every day, but retention's a big issue that you're going to have to deal with, and how you're going to keep those people representing your brand, and leadership to create that positive environment so that they can actually continue to go out there and represent your brand out in the field is really important. So there's so much to consider. And I really want to get to the top 3 priorities that you think that every business needs to look at before coming to you for some money.
We could have another 2-hour fireside chat about this. And maybe we should at some point. So first we've kind of hit, which is you as an individual. Make sure you focus and take the time to improve yourself. But alongside with that, we like to know that you're not alone. So it's always best to have either a co-founder or a board, because again, it mitigates risk. I'm investing all my money into you. What happens if you end up in the hospital for a week? My company starts to collapse. I'm better if there are more people there behind it that know what they're doing. So people and team, I think we've covered mostly. Sales and growth, sustainability, and existing plan, we've kind of covered. Then the third thing, which we didn't really cover, which I'll probably spend the next 2 minutes talking about, is the legal side of things. So once you're up and running, 50% of businesses, more than 50% of business, fail due to legal reasons. And legal reasons also include disputes with founders, co-founders, and that is always as a result of not having the right kind of paperwork in play. As an investor, I'm looking to come on board and see you have all your paperwork. No matter how small your company is or large, I need to see that you've had, minutes of the board meeting, so I can actually go through and say, this is the evolution of the company. I see how they're now thinking. Again, minimizing risk. You guys already have your paperwork and your agreements, so you've been working and you're used to working under a framework, a shareholders agreement between the partners, and you've stuck to it. Again, that minimizes my risk to know that you're doing this. If you come to me and say, oh yeah, we're best friends and we don't really have an agreement, that's red flag right there.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it means that you need to be used to working under the professional environment, no matter how fluid younger companies may be. They need to still operate as if they're bigger companies, because that mitigates risk. So I would say legal paperwork in order for sure. There are very few kind of law firms that focus on startups. I can leave behind details of ones that do, but I would speak to an SME-friendly lawyer and figure out what you don't. I'll leave you with a final anecdote. I was sitting with husband and wife, I can't name names, many, many years ago. So hopefully everyone forgot the story. They've left the country by now, I think. So sitting with a husband and wife, and I say, you guys need to get everything written down in terms of your plan, in terms of your contracts. But like, we're best friends. We live together. We discuss our business every day. There's nothing that we're not on the same level about. I'm like, okay, now let's play this game, because I know that there's no such thing as people that are exactly, I'm not even, with myself, right? I can't look in the mirror and have a one-way. It's going to be a two-way conversation. I'm going to have different ideas. So I sit down, I'm like, okay, you mentioned to me, I was listening to what they're saying. So you mentioned to me that, you're going to be spreading out to you're going to raise $500,000. You're spreading out to the GCC. I say, on 3, I want you to say which country, right? In the GCC. So I go 1, 2, 3. Obviously, one goes Saudi, the other one goes Oman. And they look at each other. I'm like, you've been in the same household. Yes, you've been saying we're going to the GCC next, but you didn't figure out exactly where. And then I went on to, in terms of what percentage marketing spend you're going to have. 1, 2, 3, 40, 50%. It's like, okay, you're already misaligned. And if it's not written down and you guys haven't visualized it on paper and you're not running under that framework, if I saw that as an investor, because at the time I was helping them as a lawyer, if I saw that as an investor, I would never invest in them, because you have two parties that are running the business in different directions and don't even know about it. So make sure everyone's aligned. Make sure your paperwork is in good order. Make sure you have that board. Make sure you have the solid sales team. Make sure you have a co-founder, preferably. But I just say it's people, people, people. People like to invest in other people, not in other businesses.
And thank you for that. Do you think there'll be a day where AI just creates businesses and it can function and operate them on its own?
It already is, with very minimal human intervention. You have certain businesses that would have taken 20, 30 people to run. Okay, you need one person, but that's 90% of the way there. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, we're not very far off certain ones, but it'll be certain low-level businesses that will not immediately impact. But I can tell you from investing in, for example, certain marketing agencies, that's very quickly under threat, which means that you need to be able to differentiate yourself heavily from now in terms of sales and marketing, because one of the companies I invested into had basically slashed 60% of its staff, saying we can just ask a prompt and we get the same level of work as you. So the higher level of talent, the really senior, well-trained level of talent, is still outperforming AI. But the majority of people are not. So it will start to encroach on a lot of different businesses and business lines one step at a time. Soon lawyers are going to be relatively, at least corporate commercial, going to be relatively obsolete. We'll be able to start cutting out staff members at some point. But, things like doctors, it'll take some time.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I can't thank you enough, Yousef. Your insight is invaluable. I mean, there's no doubt that I love to have you on the show. I'm so happy that you made time for me and for my guest. Again, it's Smart Impressions, and we have talked about profitable connections. There's no doubt. I want to reiterate, it's all about you. So fix yourself, fix your board, fix your people, or at least get aligned, right? It's all about real results when it comes to financials. It's all about legal alignment. Those are the 3 top tips he gives you for today to take away into the new year. And I say, Happy New Year. Have a great rest of your day. I thank you again for joining us, and I hope you had a fabulous, fabulous time here on Smart Impressions.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next year.